So we had already discussed the federal provisions in our constitution in class 1, right? And in the next class or class 2, we had discussed how does the Indian federalism compare with the US federalism. So today we are going to discuss a very important topic, right? The challenges of federalism and how those challenges can be addressed. Fine. So what are the challenges of federalism and how those challenges can be addressed? Once again, federalism in India. So discuss the challenges of federalism in India and how can those challenges be addressed, right? How can those challenges be addressed? How can those challenges, right, so be addressed? So let's say it is 50-marker question, right? So first of all, let's discuss the subheadings, like what are the major, what is the main demand of the question, right? So what is the main demand of the question? So we have to focus on this. We have to focus. So right, on this discuss keyword. So there will be, okay, one introduction. So if we discuss the major components, there will be, okay, some introduction. In introduction, you can mention, a broad preface. In introduction, you can mention a broad preface, like you can mention in some contrast style. So what do we mean by contrast style? This means that, so Indian constitution is based on two objectives. So Indian constitution has, right, so two objectives. First is, right, to have a strong center for preserving sovereignty of the nation. Okay, so for preserving sovereignty of the nation. Fine. And what is the second objective? Right. So what is the second objective? It is to give sufficient autonomy to states for context oriented development. Right. So we can mention in the introduction that Indian constitution has two objectives. So first one is to have a strong center for preserving the sovereignty of the nation, and second is that the states should be given sufficient autonomy for context-oriented development. Now, due to misinterpretation of these objectives, challenges arise, right? Due to misinterpretation of these objectives, challenges arise. Misinterpretation of dual objectives, challenges arise. So you can mention this thing in one line in the introduction. Fine. So you can mention while Indian constitution is based on two objectives or shared sovereignty between the center and states, the misinterpretation of the dual objectives leads to frequent challenges. Fine. So we are first discussing only the major components of the question, right? I discussed the introduction with you. So what is the next part that the question is asking? It is the challenges. So discuss the challenges of Indian federalism and how can those challenges be addressed? That means we have to mention solution. So again, we have to mention the solution. So we check, we have to mention the challenges of Indian federalism. The challenges of Indian federalism. Fine, because this is the main demand. Challenges of Indian federalism. This is the main demand. And third is, how can those challenges be addressed? That means way forward or solution has been asked. So way forward or solution, okay, has been asked. And then we should mention some conclusion. We should mention some conclusion. Way forward. This is also the main demand because the question is explicitly asking these. Fine. The question is explicitly asking so these things. Now, so when we are writing, these parts and subparts that are directly asked. So we'll get like 5 out of 15 marks, right? To reach to 7 to 8 out of 15 marks, we should show that our answer is holistic. We should show that the answer is holistic. That means we should also look for the hidden dimensions in the question that are not explicitly asked, but when we address those dimensions, the question answer becomes really holistic, right? It shows your understanding. So how can we do this thing? Because discuss is a broad keyword, right? Discuss is a broad keyword. So we have to mention, discuss the challenges of federalism and how can those challenges be addressed. So first of all, you ideate what can be done, right? What can be done such that we can get those extra 2 to 3 marks. So discuss the challenges of federalism in India and how can those challenges be addressed, right? So one thing can be challenges of Indian federalism, and then you can have some 2A, some subpart where you mention why these challenges exist. Why these challenges exist, right? You can show this in the smart art form. You can show this in the smart art form like hub and spoke model. Fine. And then after way forward or solution, you can mention before conclusion steps taken, right, to promote federalism. Steps taken to promote federalism or best practices. Best practices. This enables that you are getting your answer becomes holistic and you get the best marks. Fine. So did you discuss the overall thing that I wanted to discuss in this question? So discuss the challenges of federalism in India and how can those challenges be addressed. So first of all, in introduction, we are starting with a preface that why these challenges exist, right? Okay, what is the broad picture? So an Indian constitution is based on two objectives, right? Strong center for preserving the sovereignty of the nation, and we also have to give sufficient autonomy to states for context-oriented development. Now, due to misinterpretation of these dual objectives, challenges, can arise. So we have to address the main demand, okay, challenges of Indian federalism because this has been explicitly asked. Way forward a solution, it has been explicitly asked, and conclusion, it is necessary in all the UPSC, questions that we are writing. Now, this will give us 5 out of 15 marks. How to reach to 7 to 8 marks out of 15? So we need to make the answer holistic, and we need to search for the hidden dimensions. So challenges of Indian federalism. So we can mention, the hidden dimensions, why these challenges exist in the smart art form, and similarly the steps taken and best practices in the smart art form. So in the smart art editing form, fine. So this can be like you can show it in this way. Done. So now let me discuss the main content, the challenges of Indian federalism. The challenges of Indian federalism. Fine. So what are the main challenges of Indian federalism? So how will you think the challenges? Challenges of Indian federalism. Right. How can you ideate about the challenges? So we have to follow the same format. You think about legislative challenges, administrative or executive challenges, financial challenges, judicial challenges, and constitutional challenges, and others, if any. Others, if any. So what is, you know, so let's discuss the legislative challenges. Legislative challenges. What are those legislative challenges? So, right, we frequently find that the center encroaches into the seventh schedule, right? Encroachment of center in the seventh schedule subject, because encroachment of center in seventh schedule subjects, right? You can mention example farm laws 2020. Fine. So farm laws 2020. What are the other legislative challenges that you can think about, right? So governor frequently reserving bills, frequently reserving bills passed by state assembly, right? Example, you should always substantiate your argument with some example, right? You should also substantiate with some example or a Supreme Court judgment, whatever is fit for that particular argument. So example, Tamil Nadu, case. Frequently reserving bills passed by the state assembly. So this leads to conflict. Fine. And which constitution article allows governors to allow, reserve the bills? It's article 201. So what are the other challenges? So there is the center has more powers. The center has more powers due to quasi federal structure. So how does the center has more powers in terms of the legislative aspects? Because all the union subjects, only the center can legislate. Residuary lies with the center. Constitutional amendment bills lies with the center, and even center can legislate on the state subjects, right? In 5 extraordinary circumstances, like president's rule. 5 extraordinary circumstances, right? Like the president's rule. Then what are the other legislative aspects that you can think about? So the fourth point can be Raj Sabha has less powers than Lok Sabha. It has less powers than Lok Sabha in terms of what? In terms of financial aspects. In terms of financial aspects like budget plus upholding accountability of the government. Upholding accountability of the government. Fine. In terms of no confidence motions and other motions, right? So what are the legislative challenges between the center and the states? So right. So first of all, there's encroachment of center in the seven scheduled subjects. Example, the farm laws. Governor is frequently reserving bills passed by the state assembly. This leads to conflicts and anxiety among the states. Like the Tamil Nadu case, right, where the governor had reserved many bills. The R.N. Ravi case, you can refer to the Supreme Court judgment in 2025. More powers with the center due to quasi-federal structure. Like the center can legislate on the union subjects, residuary subjects, CABs, and even on the state subjects in five extraordinary circumstances, right? Rajya Sabha has less powers than Lok Sabha. Okay, financial aspects like budget plus upholding accountability to the government, like the no confidence motion, right? So this was point one of discussing. This was point one of discussing the legislative challenges. So now let's discuss the administrative or executive challenges. So let's discuss the administrative or executive challenges, right? Administrative or executive challenges. So the first challenges is due to the partisan role of governor. The partisan role of governor, right? We'll discuss so various examples in the governor topic that we'll discuss in the next, upcoming classes. So partisan role of governor, you can refer to instances like Maharashtra 2019, right? You can refer how the Maharashtra governor had called, the chief minister to form the government in the late night. So partisan role of governor, that is one thing. And second is, administrative challenges can be governance, top-down governance system, right? In the form of like various things we see one nation, one, XYZ, like one nation, one police, one nation, one tax, right? So this also creates administrative challenges. And next, the center has control over all India services, right? And investigative agencies like ED, CBI, IT. So investigative agencies like ED, CBI, and income tax. So this also creates challenges, right? This also creates challenges. Now, what are the financial challenges? What are the financial challenges between the center and the states? So financial challenges, if we see between the center and the states, so these are the financial challenges. So first of all, it's with respect to, GST. Due to GST, the states have lost control over the indirect taxes. So as per data, states have lost autonomy. So states have lost autonomy on 65% of the revenue. They've lost autonomy on 65% of their revenue, right? As per PRS. So it is a credible website that you can mention in your quality answers. States have lost autonomy on 65% of the revenue. And then you can think in terms of finance commission transfers, right? Finance commission transfers, Article 280. So you can think in terms of horizontal devolution and vertical devolution. Vertical devolution. So vertical devolution is like, vertical devolution is from the center to the states, right? Vertical devolution is from the center, so to the states. So you know, as per 14th Finance Commission, it should be 42% of the, tax pool should be devolved to the states. But as per data, only 36%, right? Maximum 36% has been devolved, and that also between 2018 to 19. So this is the peak. So the 42% has not yet been devolved. This is the vertical aspect. And horizontal devolution. So there is, you know, inequality in terms of transfer to states. For example, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, they contribute a lot but receive less funds, right? This can be one aspect. So financial challenges is GST, finance commission transfers, and that we can think in terms of vertical devolution, and then we can think in terms of horizontal devolution. Fine. So what are the other financial challenges in terms of federalism? So it is increasing cess and surcharge by central government. Like cess and surcharge, it is not shared with the states. That means if the center is increasing the cess and surcharge, the overall devolution, in the tax pool from the center to the states will reduce. So as per data, this has increased from 12% of the gross tax resources to 20% in the last decade, right? Example, Krishi Kalyan cess. So these things are not shared with the states. So this reduces funds that is being transferred to the states from the center. Fine. What are the other financial challenges? What are the other financial challenges? So I'm discussing federalism in a holistic perspective such that you understand what are the actual challenges so being faced. Fine. So this is misuse of, you know, discretionary grants. So misuse of discretionary grants, Article 282, right? So this forms 55% of the transfers. Right, yes. As per constitutional expert Nanhi Palkhiwala, as per constitutional expert Nanhi Palkhiwala, more focus should be on Article 275, which is statutory grant, right? Statutory grant, rather than Article 282, which is discretionary grants and depends upon the whims and fancies of the central government. Fine. What can be the other financial challenges that you can think of? So one can be demand for special category status, special category status like Bihar, Andhra Pradesh. So they are demanding. This also creates financial challenges, right? Because in special SCS states, they get 90% contribution by center in schemes implementation. Yes, in schemes implementation. So what did we check? So first of all, we have discussed, right? So to give you a brief overview, discuss the challenges of federalism in India and how can those challenges be addressed. In the introduction, you have to give a broad preface. There are two objectives. Misinterpretation of objectives leads to the challenges, right? Main demand, which is the challenges and the solution, and then to get those extra marks to show the holism. So why these challenges exist and steps taken or best practices, right? So I'm discussing the main demand part one, which is challenges of Indian federalism. How do we have to think it in terms of legislative, administrative, financial, judicial, constitutional, right? And other aspects. So what are the legislative challenges? So encroachment of center in the seven scheduled subjects, example farm laws, right? Governor frequently reserving bills passed by the state assembly. In the Tamil Nadu case, we saw this thing. More powers due to quasi-federal structure. So center has more powers. So I showed you how. But Rajya Sabha has less powers, and Rajya Sabha is the representative of states. So if it has less powers, the states will have less say in terms of the parliamentary, aspects. Some administrative or executive challenges. So partisan role of the governor, right? There are various examples, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and there are various examples that we'll discuss in the governor topic. So top-down governance model, like one nation, one XYZ, like one nation, one police, and all those things. This creates, conflicts between the center and the states. Center has control over all India services and investigative agencies like ED, CBI, and IT. So these can be, misused to force the state legislative members to agree to a certain agenda, right? Financial challenges. So in terms of GST, states have lost autonomy on 65% of their indirect taxes. So that is the revenue. So you go and after this video, you think what is the revenue of the states? So how do the states get the revenue and how do the states spend their money? That means the revenue and expenditure aspects of the states. So this will help you to understand this GST aspect in a better manner. So finance commission transfers, Article 280. So there are two aspects of finance commission transfers, okay, horizontal and vertical devolution. Vertical is from the center to the states, and horizontal is the devolved part distribution between the states. So as per 14th Finance Commission, 42% should be devolved, but as per data, okay, PRS, you can quote only 36% has been devolved, and that is the peak between 2018 till 2019. So this was the pre-COVID. Horizontal devolution, we see that there is inequality in terms of transfers to states. So the states that are contributing more, so they are dissatisfied with what they are receiving. Also, so central government is increasing the cess and surcharge, which is not being shared with the states. Like as per data, this cess and surcharge has increased from 12% of the gross tax pool, okay, to 20% in the last decade, and this is not being shared with the states. Example, the Krishi Kalyan cess. So also there's misuse of discretionary grants, Article 282. So discretionary grants should be less and statutory grants should be more. But as per data, 55% of the central government transfers are discretionary. Ideally, as per Nani Palkiwala, constitutional expert, more grants should be, statutory as per Article 275. Also, demand for special category status by states like Bihar and Andhra Pradesh. So they also create, conflicts in terms of the demand by the states from the center. Done. So what are the other? So this will discuss legislative, administrative, financial, and then we can club other challenges. Okay, in terms of what are the other? Okay, the challenges of federalism. What are the other challenges of federalism? So first we can think, right? So regionalism is going on. Regionalism, right? Like, so we saw, so linguistic issues, linguistic regionalism in Karnataka. It is heating up linguistic regionalism. Example, Karnataka. So that also creates conflicts among the states. Fine. And then, so this can be with respect to resource conflicts. Example, Tamil Nadu versus Karnataka over Kaveri River. Tamil Nadu versus Karnataka over Kaveri River. Fine. So these are also the challenges. So we have to think, federalism challenges, federalism challenges. So this can be center and states. This can be among the states themselves. So it is not just center and states, but also among the states themselves, right? So this is what this resource conflict suggests from this, dimension. Now, what are the other challenges? I think these challenges should be sufficient, right? To understand the challenges, this much should be sufficient. Now you can also mention, the part 2A of the subdimension, like why these challenges exist. So this can be shown why these challenges exist, right? So you can show this in the smart art form. You can show this in the smart art form. Once again. So reasons for these challenges, right? So how do you think? Now the main thing is, how do you ideate that why these challenges exist? So there are various aspects, like I'm going to tell you in terms of dimensions that we have to think. So you can think, so in terms of pestle, right? So pestle, that means some political reason, some economic reason, some social reason, right? Some technological reason, some administrative reason, right? Some legal reason. And to expand these pestle, you should follow this format pestle plus plus. So we can have some historical reason, some geographical reason, right? Some cultural reason, some international reason, some ecological reason. So these are the, multi dimensions that will help you to generate excellent points, right? So reasons for those challenges, we can think in terms of these challenges, and especially in terms of polity, right? Especially in terms of polity, reasons for these challenges, we can also think, in terms of, in polity, we can think legal challenges, institutional challenges, right? Legal challenges, some institutional challenges, some judicial challenges. So legal, institutional, some judicial, some political challenges, and some administrative challenges, right? So you can think in terms of these dimensions, fine. And also you can think, so these challenges, so in terms of stakeholder, okay, perspective. So you can think in terms of stakeholder perspective, right? So stakeholder perspective, like who are the stakeholders in the center state disputes? So one thing is center, other thing is states, right? So stakeholder perspective, center, okay, states, like what challenges arise? So due to the center, what challenges arise? So due to the states, what are the other stakeholders? Like judiciary is also stakeholder. Why it is not being able to, settle the disputes in a timely manner? So you can think the reasons for these challenges from these three dimensions that we'll discuss in the next class. And we'll continue this question also in the next class. So after this lecture gets over, you take your own notes and jot down the reasons for these federalism challenges in terms of, in terms of all these dimensions. Like, so you think in terms of pestle plus plus, some political reason why these challenges, exist, some economic reasons, some administrative reasons, all these things, why these challenges exist. Done? You also think, right? So in terms of same answer, you also try to think in terms of legal, institutional, judicial, political, and administrative challenges. And the same answer, right? You also write down separately in terms of the stakeholder perspective. Like, what are the challenges due to the center? What are the challenges due to the states? What are the challenges due to judiciary? And write 3 pages using all these 3 different approaches, right? So this we'll discuss in the next class. Fine. So we'll discuss this thing in the next class. After this lecture gets over, take up your own notes and think about those challenges in terms of these 3 dimensions. Done? Okay. So let's meet in the next class. Till then, happy learning. Thank you.